The road is empty. Just 2 lanes of cracked asphalt cutting through a stretch of pine and silence. The kind of place you don't stop unless you're from here, or sure you belong. It's almost midnight. No streetlights. Just stars and the low hum of tires over gravel as a dark green pickup truck glides past mile marker 212. Inside, a black man drives. Hands relaxed on the wheel. Eyes steady. A thermos rests in the cup holder. A folded uniform shirt lies in the back seat, stitched with a name no one will remember fast enough. Sheriff Elijah Briggs. But tonight, he's off duty. No badge on his chest. Just a flannel shirt, dusty jeans, and a face too familiar for comfort in a town that still whispers its bigotry behind polite smiles. Then headlights. Blinding. Fast. A cruiser. Blue and red lights snap on. The truck slows. Elijah signals. Pulls over to the shoulder. No panic. Just habit. He's been stopped before. But tonight feels different. 2 officers step out. Young. Buzz cut. One chewing gum. The other cracking his knuckles. They don't ask for ID. They don't explain the stop. One shines a flashlight straight into Elijah's face. License and registration. Elijah reaches slowly. No sudden moves. But before he touches the glove box, the other cop barks. Hands where I can see him. He freezes. I'm reaching for my ID, he says, voice calm. You're reaching for something, the officer mutters, stepping closer. Then the door swings open. Hard. And Elijah's pulled out. Thrown to the ground. Knee on his back. Elbow in the dirt. Boot on his wrist. He doesn't fight. Doesn't shout. Just breathes. Because that's all he can afford. You don't belong on this road. One officer sneers. The other snickers. You think you can roll through here in a fancy truck like you're somebody? Elijah opens his mouth to answer. The punch lands before the words do. Fist to cheek. Another to the ribs. And the darkness comes quickly, blurry, heavy, hot. They drag him to the ditch. Pour gas on the truck. Light a match. They don't check his name. They don't open the glove box. They don't notice the badge in his coat pocket. They just watch the fire catch. And walk away, laughing, leaving behind what they think is just another nameless, burned black body on the edge of nowhere. But they miss something. He's still breathing. And Elijah Briggs isn't finished yet. The first breath hurts. Smoke clawing at his lungs, dirt thick in his throat. The night presses down, heavy, like it's in on the plan. Elijah blinks. Once. Twice. Then rolls. His back screams. His ribs rattle like cracked porcelain. But he moves. Because that's what Marines do. He doesn't reach for the fire. He moves away from it. Every inch a war. His left palm is scorched, flesh peeling, red where the glove once was. He doesn't scream. Just digs that hand into the gravel and pulls. One arm forward. Then the other. Crawling. Like he's done this before. Because he has. In places where landmines whispered and enemies were the same flag. But this battlefield is home. He hears the crackle behind him. The truck, his truck, fully ablaze now, paint bubbling, glass shattering into the weeds. The heat kisses the back of his neck like insult layered over injury. He's 57. But tonight, he moves like he's 20 again, crawling not toward safety, but toward memory. 2 miles. That's how far to the old ranger station. Abandoned since '03, but still standing. Still with a landline. No cell reception out here. Not unless you climb something taller than your pain. Elijah pulls himself through brush, sweat stinging open wounds, blood soaking the hem of his shirt. Every 10 feet, he stops. Not to rest. To listen. For sirens that won't come. For footsteps that already left. For breath. His own. To make sure it's still his. A branch snaps under him. He doesn't flinch. Just keeps moving. His boots are gone. One sock soaked with blood. But the badge? Still in his coat pocket. Still there. Pressed against his ribs like a heartbeat. By the time he reaches the ranger station, the sun is threatening the edge of the sky. He stumbles up the steps. Falls once. Curses softly. Then finds the door still unlocked. Inside, cobwebs. Dust. An old desk with a phone that may or may not connect to the county dispatch. He lifts the receiver. Prays for a dial tone. It hums in his ear. Alive. He dials. 3 digits. Then waits. 911. What's your emergency? He breathes into the line. Then says, slow and certain. This is Sheriff Elijah Briggs. I've been assaulted. Send everything you have. And for the first time in hours. The silence on the other end isn't ignorance. It's shock. The dispatcher stammers. "See, come again, sir?" Elijah steadies his breath. "This is Sheriff Elijah Briggs. Badge 2174. I was ambushed and left for dead off mile marker 212. Send EMS. And tell Chief Holloway to meet me at the station. Now." There's a pause. Then the voice on the other end sharpens. "Yes, Sheriff. Confirming. Units en route. Medical 2. ETA 15. Elijah hangs up, falls back into the dusty chair. His hand trembles, not from fear. From fury. He stares at his fingers. Burned. Bloody. But still his. They didn't take that. Didn't even know what they were holding. And that, somehow, is worse. The seconds drag until he hears them. Sirens. Far off. Closer. Then the crunch of tires on gravel. A voice yells, "Sheriff's inside." Boots thunder up the steps. The door flies open. And Chief Holloway stands there. Gray hair. Wrinkled brow. Clipboard dropped from his hand like a gun just went off. He sees Elijah, slumped, half-burned, still gripping the phone. Jesus Christ. Elijah doesn't smile. Too late for prayers. The medics rush in behind. They speak fast, peel back his coat, check his pupils. One gasps softly as the coat opens and reveals the badge, still pinned. Scorched on one edge. But readable. Sheriff. Elijah locks eyes with Holloway. 2 decades of partnership between them. And a line now drawn like ash between what was and what's about to be. "I want the body cam footage," Elijah says. Holloway nods. "You'll have it." "I want their names." "You'll have those too." Elijah grabs the chief's wrist, tight, despite the burns. "I want them out of my county by sundown." The chief swallows. "I understand." As they lift Elijah onto the stretcher, a deputy nearby whispers, "Who did this?" Another replies, voice shaking, "Some new guys. Hired from upstate. Said they wanted to crack down on non-compliance." They all look down. Ash flakes drift from Elijah's jacket onto the floor. But he speaks again, eyes to the ceiling. "I didn't survive 2 tours overseas. To get lynched by my own badge. And now they know. This wasn't just assault. It was insurrection. And the man they left to burn is about to light the whole damn system on fire." The precinct doesn't breathe. Phones buzz, but no one answers. Coffee goes cold. Eyes dart toward screens as the truth unspools like smoke, filling every crack of silence they thought would protect them. It starts with the dispatch log. A handwritten note gets passed down the hallway. "Sheriff's alive." It was 2 of ours. Then the footage surfaces. Body cam number 187 and number 221. The chief calls it routine review. But everyone knows it's a reckoning. They gather in the briefing room. Too full, too quiet. No jokes. No badge-clinking small talk. The screen lights up. The timestamp reads 23:43. The video begins. 2 officers approach a parked pickup truck. Flashlights blind. Voices rise. No probable cause. No Miranda. Just menace. Then, let's make this quick. You hear the door swing open. You see Elijah pulled from the truck like luggage, not a man. The frame shakes as one officer's fist connects. A laugh slips into the mic. "Should have stayed in your lane, old man." Someone in the room gasps. Another turns away. Then comes the spark. A flicker in the dark. The fuel can. The match. The truck ignites, just as the video cuts. No timestamp. No face. Just evidence. The chief shuts the screen off. No one speaks for a full minute. Then, softly, "Where are they?" Holloway answers, jaw clenched. "Gone. Ran. We're tracking." Another deputy asks, "Did they know who he was?" Silence. Then a voice from the back. "They didn't care." That lands hard. Because now everyone's thinking the same thing. If they could do this to him, they could do it to anyone. In his office, Elijah sits in a hospital gown, ribs wrapped, for in his arm. But when the chief enters, he's already dressed, boots on, coat buttoned, badge shining. "I'm not waiting for internal affairs," Elijah says. "You shouldn't have to," Holloway replies. Elijah stands. Each step stiff, but each step earned. "We've protected the wrong men for too long. And now, that protection burns in the same fire they tried to leave him in." The press conference isn't held in the usual room. Not behind polished oak. Not under the city's seal. Elijah insists it be held outside. On the courthouse steps. In the daylight. Where everyone can see. He stands there, ribs bound tight beneath his uniform, burned cream slick beneath the collar, but back straight, eyes sharper than ever. Microphones line the podium. Cameras blink red. Reporters fidget with pins they already know won't capture half of what's coming. He doesn't clear his throat, doesn't smile. He just begins. 2 nights ago, I was assaulted, stripped of my name, burned, left for dead, by men who swore an oath, not to justice, but to control. Gasps ripple. He lets them settle, then continues. They didn't check my badge. They didn't ask my name. They saw black skin in a pickup truck at midnight and decided that was threat enough. He glances at the front row, city council members, clergy, parents holding their children a little tighter. But I'm not here to ask for sympathy. I'm here to end the comfort. The comfort some of you felt, knowing it wasn't you on the ground, knowing your badge wouldn't be questioned, knowing your name would be asked before the handcuffs clicked. Murmurs. A shift in posture. He leans forward. We don't need more training. We need a purge. Of every man and woman who signed up to dominate, not serve. Of every leader who says, wait, when justice says now. His voice doesn't rise, but it carries, like gravel wrapped in gospel. If you're wearing a badge and afraid of accountability, turn it in. If you think authority comes before humanity, turn it in. And if you ever look at a black man and see anything less than your equal, you don't need a badge. You need a mirror. A hush false. The kind that doesn't beg applause. It demands action. Elijah steps back, turns, and limps down the steps, each footstep louder than any riot. Because this isn't vengeance. It's reclamation. And the man they left for dead just became the one thing they never prepared for. Unignorable. The precinct doesn't feel the same. Not because of what happened. Because of who's walking through it. Elijah steps inside. Not escorted. Not surrounded. Alone. And yet, everyone moves. Chairs scoot back. Eyes lower. Radios get suddenly quiet. He walks past the front desk. Past the memorial wall. Past the stained glass window donated by a church that used to lock its doors during protests. His boots echo. That same sound he once used to track his heartbeat in war. He reaches his office. The door is closed. But on the glass, where Sheriff Elijah Briggs is etched in gold leaf, someone's drawn a black marker line. Straight through the middle. He stops. Studies it. Then opens the door. Sitting on his desk is the file he asked for, the 2 officers' full records. No redactions. He sits down, takes a breath, and begins to read. One had 3 complaints for excessive force. All dismissed. The other? Clean file. Until now. He doesn't feel satisfaction. He feels confirmation. This was never a rogue moment. It was a slow infection. And now? He's cutting. By noon, 6 officers are suspended. 3 desk jobs revoked. 1 resignation lands in his inbox with the subject line, I was wrong. He doesn't open it. Instead, he calls in Sergeant Alma Diaz. 20 years on the force. Latina. Quiet. Sharp as hell. I'm making you deputy chief, he says. She blinks. Sir, you were the only one who showed up to my hospital room. She nods once. And the only one who didn't flinch when I said I was staying. He slides a box across the desk. Inside, her new badge. Numbered 1 higher than his. Not because she's next. Because she's the future. Outside, the sun pierces through the blinds, casting long shadows across the floor. But in Elijah's office, nothing stays hidden anymore. Not guilt. Not rot. And definitely not power. Because now, power wears scars. And walks without fear. The footage goes public on a Wednesday. Not by press release. Not by accident. By Elijah's own hand. He stands behind a podium with a flash drive in one palm and a folder in the other. Reporters gather, expecting legalese. He gives them truth. This, he says, holding the drive, is the footage of what was done to me. Click. Shutters snap. Pins freeze. He holds up the folder. And this? These are the use of force complaints against those same 2 officers, each one brushed off, overlooked, or resolved internally. He sets both items down, then looks into the cameras. I'm not sharing this because I want to relive it, he says. I'm sharing it because silence protects the wrong people. That evening, the video streams across the country. 2 men dragging Elijah out of his truck, calling him boy, telling him he fits the description. The fire, the laughter, the walk away. No cuts, no edits, just reality. And the caption beneath every upload? Sheriff Elijah Briggs. It trends within hours. Hashtag Sheriff Briggs. Hashtag burned and risen. Hashtag still standing. He receives calls from civil rights attorneys, state governors, even the president. He answers none. Instead, he visits the local high school. No cameras, just students. He walks into a classroom and sets his badge on a desk. Asks one question. What would you do if you saw what they did to me? But I wasn't the sheriff. The room goes silent. Then, slowly, a girl in the back raises her hand. I do more than film. He nods. Then we're getting somewhere. When he leaves, the class applauds, not because he asked for it, because they recognize something. For the first time, power didn't come to lecture. It came to listen. And the man they tried to erase? He's now writing the next chapter. In ink so permanent, even fire can't burn it away. Elijah doesn't rebuild the truck. He lets it go. What's left of it, charred frame, melted tires, twisted metal, is loaded onto a flatbed and delivered to the county impound. But he doesn't sign the release. Instead, he calls the museum. The one down by the Riverwalk, where local veterans are honored and civil rights protests are etched into glass. He donates it. As is. Unwashed. Untouched. Don't restore it, he tells the curator. Let it speak. They don't question. A month later, it's on display in a corner gallery beneath dim lights. No pedestal. Just gravel poured onto the tile floor, a backdrop of soot-stained wall panels, and a single plaque that reads, Sheriff Elijah Briggs's truck, burned in a hate-fueled assault, left as evidence of both cowardice and survival. People come. Not just locals. Tourists. Busloads of students. Retired officers. At the center of the room, the truck sits like a monument, not to what they did to him, but to what he refused to become. A little boy asks his mother, why didn't they know who he was? The mother crouches low. They didn't care who he was. That was the problem. Meanwhile, Elijah visits after hours. Stands behind the glass. Stares. He doesn't look at the damage. He looks at the windshield. Cracked. Barely hanging on. Just like he was. Behind him, a security guard clears his throat. You know, Sheriff, the man says, they should have known. You were always out there. Quiet. Steady. Every holiday parade. Every lost kid at the fair. Elijah turns. I wasn't invisible. The guard nods. No, sir. But you were misseen. And that's worse. Elijah walks out into the night. He doesn't look back. The truck's job is to remind. His job is to keep moving forward. Because the past may have burned. But the future is fireproof. The letters start arriving in stacks. Not the angry kind. The other kind. Typed. Handwritten. Spelled in careful block letters by third graders. Some sealed with stickers. Others smudged by tears. One reads, Dear Sheriff Briggs, my daddy is a truck driver. He said if this happened to him, he wouldn't have made it. I'm glad you did. Tyler, age 9. Another, scrawled on the back of a church bulletin. They saw you as a body, but we saw a soul made of something they could never understand. May you never dim for their comfort. Elijah doesn't frame them. He files them in boxes. Labels each one. Proof. Proof that pain documented properly becomes more than memory. It becomes momentum. At town hall meetings, the crowd grows. Not to complain. To learn. He brings a new deputy with him every week. Not to speak. To listen. One night, a woman in the back stands. Eyes sharp. Wrinkles carved by time, not defeat. My husband was a sheriff, she says. Retired in '85. He used to say, the badge is only as good as the heart behind it. I didn't understand it back then. But I do now. Elijah nods. He doesn't say thank you. He says, if the badge makes you louder than your community, you're wearing it wrong. That quote ends up printed on t-shirts, on murals, tattooed, even on the arm of a young officer who once thought silence was loyalty. Elijah sees it at a gas station. The officer catches him staring. It's yours, he says. I needed it closer than my name. Elijah simply replies. Then act like it's stitched to your spine. Because now, Elijah isn't just sheriff. He's standard. And every footstep he takes echoes not with vengeance, but with expectation. They offer him a medal, state-level commendation, governor's ceremony, cameras, a polished plaque with his name etched in gold leaf, and a generic citation about bravery in the face of adversity. Elijah reads the letter once, then places it, unopened, on the corner of his desk, next to a coffee mug that says, Best Uncle Ever, and beneath a faded photo of him in uniform with his father, also a sheriff, long before the world had hashtags. He doesn't go. Instead, he attends a graduation. Not a high school. Not a police academy. A GED ceremony inside the county jail. He's invited by one of the inmates, a young man who once spat at Elijah during a heated arrest. That same man now stands at a podium, cap askew, voice shaking. I used to think respect was something you took. Sheriff Briggs taught me it's something you carry. The crowd claps. Elijah just nods. Afterward, the young man hands him a folded piece of paper. Inside, a poem, titled Fireproof. He reads it twice, memorizes one line. They burned what they could touch, but not what you are. Later that week, Elijah returns to mile marker 212. Alone. The grass is growing back. Ash is long gone. He walks the shoulder, stands where the truck once flamed, looks up at the sky, blue and wide, and pretending it doesn't remember. But he does. He kneels. Not in pain. In presence. He pulls a small tin from his coat pocket. Inside, a handful of charred metal fragments from his truck. Twisted, blackened, sharp. He buries them. Right there. Marks the spot with a stone, carved into it. You lit the fire. I became it. Then he stands, turns, and walks back toward the road. Not as a survivor, but as a sentinel. Because from this point on, anyone driving through this stretch won't just pass through. They'll pass by him. The deputies call it the shift. It starts slow. Quieter radio chatter. Fewer raised voices at traffic stops. Body cams turned on before the first approach, like they're not just protecting their badge, but honoring someone else's name. Recruits begin quoting Elijah in training. The old manual says, protect and serve. The new ones add, presence over posture, respect before restraint. And yet, Elijah doesn't take credit. He takes attendance. He shows up, unannounced, rides along with rookies on midnight patrols. Not to monitor, to model. During one ride, a nervous young deputy asks him, Sheriff, how'd you know they were going to burn it? Elijah doesn't hesitate. I didn't, but I always knew the fire was near. Pause. But I also knew what I was made of. They drive in silence after that, until the radio crackles with a report of a loitering complaint, black teenager, hoodie, convenience store. Elijah listens, then says, let's take it. When they arrive, it's just a kid waiting for a ride. No threats, no crime, just cold hands in his pockets and eyes ready for defense. The deputy starts to ask for ID. Elijah stops him, kneels, looks the boy in the eyes. You good? The boy nods, slow. My mom's late. Elijah offers his phone. Want to call her? He does. The deputy watches. Says nothing. But later, in the cruiser, he mutters, I think I've been doing it wrong. Elijah replies without looking up. Not wrong. Just unquestioned. That ends now. The rest of the night is quiet. But when they get back to the station, the rookie lingers at the door. Sheriff. Yeah. You really think this place can change? Elijah turns to him. Not can. It has to. And now, son, it starts with you. A national news anchor flies in. Not for a scandal. For a story. She's doing a special Profiles in Power, the ones who stayed standing. They want Elijah front and center. Cameras follow him through the precinct, across the courthouse lawn, even to the community center where he volunteers Saturday mornings teaching local kids how to hold themselves with purpose. He agrees to one sit-down interview, but only under one condition. We film it at the fire site. The crew hesitates, then agrees. They arrive just before golden hour. Soft light, no wind, no distractions. Just him, the reporter, and a single chair placed at mile marker 212, right where it all burned. Elijah doesn't wear a suit. He wears the same coat from that night. Repaired, patched at the elbow, badge pin firm. They ask him the expected questions. How did you survive? Did you ever think about giving up? Have the officers who did it reached out again? He answers calmly. Sparely. But then she asks the one he's been waiting for. What do you want people to remember most? Elijah looks at the camera. Doesn't blink. That I wasn't mistaken for a criminal. I was targeted as less than a man. And that's the line we keep crossing. Thinking these are accidents. They're not. They're choices. And I've chosen, every day since, to be more visible. More vocal. Because silence didn't save me. It nearly buried me. She's quiet. The cameraman lowers his rig. The wind finally moves. Later, they air the clip unedited. It goes viral. But not for drama. For truth. And across the country, departments begin using the clip in officer training. Not as caution. As compass. Because Elijah didn't just survive the fire. He became the map out of it. They retire his badge. Not because he's done, because he says so. Elijah announces it in a 2-sentence press release. I've worn this badge long enough. Now I want to hand it to those who remember why it matters. The city holds a ceremony. Small. Local. Exactly how he wants it. No grand stage. No national anthem. No 12-minute montage. Just a folding chair, a wooden box, and the sound of people standing, not because they're told, but because they choose to. He steps up to the podium one last time, pulls the badge from his coat, and holds it in his hand like a stone plucked from fire. He says, "This badge once felt like armor. Then it felt like target. Then, finally, it felt like truth. If you wear it knowing you're not here to be obeyed. You're here to be believed." He places the badge into the box, closes it, and steps down. No applause. Just reverence. Afterward, he walks outside with Alma Diaz, now Sheriff Diaz. She adjusts her collar. Nervous. "You sure you're okay walking away?" Elijah grins. "Alma, I didn't walk away. I walked through." They stop by the front steps. A kid runs up, about 9, ball cap too big, eyes wide. "You're the guy from the fire truck." Elijah chuckles. "Close. I'm the guy who came out of the fire." The boy nods solemnly. "Mom says you didn't get burned. You became the blaze." He laughs, eyes crinkling. "Your mom's smarter than most of the brass I ever worked with." The boy hands him a drawing, stick figure Elijah, flames behind him, but still standing tall. In crayon, above it, 3 bold words. "Sheriff for always." Elijah tucks it in his coat pocket, then walks into the sunset. No longer holding the badge, but still holding the fire. His boots are quieter now. Not from wear. From purpose. Elijah spends his mornings at the youth center and his afternoons teaching at the local academy. Not policy, not procedure, but something deeper. Presence. History. Humanity. One class asks him, "What's the first thing you look for when someone puts on the badge?" He leans on the desk. Pauses. How they walk into a room with no cameras. A girl raises her hand. "What if you're scared? To speak up when it's wrong?" He answers without hesitation. "Then you're human. But if you stay silent, then you're part of it." They scribble that down. Later, at a city council meeting, a resolution passes unanimously. The county's new cadet code of conduct will begin with this quote, printed on every ID. "If the badge outruns your conscience, it's not worth wearing." Elijah hears about it from Alma, now fully in her stride as sheriff. "Your voice is still in every hallway," she says. He smiles, sips his coffee. "Then I've done my job." Back at home, his bookshelf grows heavier. Not with awards. With letters. More continue to pour in. One from a retired officer in Louisiana. "I quit the day after I saw your press conference. I realized I'd worn that badge to be seen, but I never learned how to see. Thank you for burning the lie I was hiding behind." Elijah folds it, files it under reckoning. Then he walks outside. It's late. Sky open, stars sharp. He strolls past the edge of his yard to the little stone he placed years ago, now moss-covered but firm. Kneels, brushes it clean, and whispers, "Still here." Because legacy isn't about echo. It's about anchor. And in the quiet that follows, you realize he's not gone. He's everywhere. There's a new sign by the road. Not official. Not issued by the city. It just appeared one morning at mile marker 212, planted in the ground with care, paint still drying in the corners. Simple wood. Hand-carved lettering. It reads, "Here, they tried to erase him. Instead, he rewrote the law." People stop when they see it. They pull over, take pictures, leave small offerings, stones, flowers, folded notes weighted with pebbles. Someone even tacks up a copy of his original press quote, laminated and creased. They lit the fire, but I was already burning with purpose. Elijah visits it one last time. A quiet afternoon. No cameras. No cars on the road. Just him, a walking stick now instead of his old cane, and the hum of cicadas filling the silence. He stands before the sign, then places something at its base. A badge. Not his. One turned in recently by a former officer who said the words Elijah had been waiting years to hear. "I thought the uniform made me right, but it only made me loud." Elijah sets the badge down gently, then traces the sign with his fingers. Not to check it, to feel it. Because this isn't about commemoration. It's about continuation. As he walks back to his truck, a new one now, but same color, same silence in the cab, he watches the sunset catch in the rearview mirror. Orange, red, gold, And in the distance, that little handmade sign glows like it's etched in flame. Back home, he sits on the porch. No phone in hand. No clipboard. Just air. Just memory. Just presence. Because Elijah Briggs is no longer just a man. He's a measure. A line drawn across injustice with fire at one end, and justice rising from the other.